All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. Houston Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee steps down from the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, where she is the chair in addition to her subcommittee chairing of the House Committee as a result of a sexual lawsuit filed by a former staffer. We'll give you all of the details. Also joining us on the show today is Congressman Hank Johnson. We'll talk the shutdown, State of the Union address, as well as our military. Joining us today also is Congresswoman Etta Bernice Johnson of Dallas. She is the new chair of the Science and Technology Committee in the House. We'll hear about her plans when it comes to the issue of STEM and African Americans. A man pulls a gun on black teenagers at an anti-gun violence rally in Miami. He is arrested. The organizer of the rally is here live with the eyewitness details. Also, a new report finds that all hate crime murders were committed by right-wing extremists, domestic terrorists. We have two examples, folks. A man stabbed to death in New York City in a plot against Muslims in upstate New York. Also, Jay-Z and Meek Mill have joined together to form a criminal justice organization. Van Jones will be the CEO. It is backed by $50 million. We have the details. And also, we'll dig into Senator Kamala Harris's hidden army, her sorority, as she runs for the Democratic nomination for president. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Houston has stepped down as the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. She also gave up her committee on a temporary basis. She, of course, was the chair of the House Subcommittee on Criminal Justice, on Judiciary. Now, folks, these were two critical positions, very powerful. And she is stepping down as a result of a lawsuit by a staffer that says that a staffer in her congressional office was fired after complaining of being sexually harassed by a supervisor at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Now, Congresswoman Lee has been adamantly denying the allegations. A lawsuit has been filed. Of course, her name has not been released, Jane Doe. The details, though, are very explicit. Politico had a story last week detailing the drama surrounding this. There was a phone call last week, an emergency board meeting where Congresswoman Lee was asked to step down. She declined to do so. According to Politico, Kathy Hughes, the, of course, founder of Urban One, formerly Radio One, she resigned from the CBC Foundation board. Over the weekend, I sent her a text message to confirm whether or not she did indeed resign based upon that story. Did not hear back from her. But again, the story lays out that the CBC board made it clear to Congresswoman Lee that she needed to step down. Well, today, that actually happened after an additional phone call. And when you go, and again, when you go through this particular lawsuit, when you hear what this woman had to say, that she was sexually assaulted by this supervisor in the CBCF, and that when she informed the Congresswoman about this, she was terminated. And so we'll have the details as they develop in this case as well. Folks, lots of drama back and forth between Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and President Donald Trump. Trump, of course, said that I am speaking on Tuesday at the State of the Union. And Nancy Pelosi said, no, you're not. Why? Because of the shutdown. A little bit later, I'm going to show you some of those, their dueling letters back and forth. Of course, members of Congress on the Democratic side have been demanding that the Trump administration and Mitch McConnell and the Senate accept what they passed, and that is several different bills to reopen the government. Joining us right now is Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia. Of course, he also ranking member on House Armed Services Committee. How you doing, Congressman?
I'm doing great, Roland.
So let's deal with obviously this back and forth when it comes to the shutdown. The president Donald Trump says, look, I'm not backing down. Of course, his communications chief, Sean Hannity, said today that Trump has no issue with it being shut down indefinite. What is it going to take to get these furloughed workers, 800,000 folks, and then, of course, the millions of people who are impacted by them not being able to work? What is it going to take to get the government back open?
It's going to take Mitch McConnell deciding to do his job as a legislator. He runs the Senate. He's the top Republican. Republicans have control. They can bring any bill to the floor of the Senate for a vote. And the House has sent them 10 spending bills now that would reopen the government. Several of those bills are bills that passed the Senate in such a degree that it would be a veto-proof majority. And so what has to happen is Mitch McConnell has to get up off the can. He's been missing in action. He needs to put some bills on the Senate floor that the House has passed, that the Senate has already passed, and then we need to get those bills to the president for his action.
Your thoughts on this whole back and forth when it comes to Speaker Pelosi as well as Donald Trump when it comes to the issue of the State of the Union? Of course, we know that Trump, he loves to be on television. He loves big audiences. Initially, of course, Speaker sent him a letter before the shutdown, inviting him to speak on January 29th. Then, of course, when it happened, she then said that because of the shutdown, he should reconsider. He made clear we're moving forward. There was supposed to be a walkthrough on yesterday, on MLK Day. She canceled that particular walkthrough. And then, of course, today, Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, she sent out this letter saying that the president, which he sent to her. Henry, do you have my iPad up? All right, so this is the letter. Dear Madam Speaker, thank you for your letter on January 3rd. As you know, I had already accepted your kind invitation. However, I then received another letter from you dated January 16th. He then goes on to say security is not going to be an issue. It's all taken care of. And he makes clear, I will be honoring your invitation and fulfilling my constitutional duty. And then he says, I look forward to seeing you on the evening of January 29th. It would be so sad for our country if the State of the Union were not delivered on time, on schedule, and very importantly, on location. Now, that was his letter. And, of course, it did not take Speaker Pelosi long to actually drop her own letter. So, like, to me, it's sort of like Tupac or some rappers that dropping mixtapes, diss songs at each other. And then she sent him this letter. Henry, go to my iPad. When I extended the invitation on January 3rd, she said at the time there was no thought that the government would still be shut down. She said, I'm writing to inform you that the House of Representatives will not consider a concurrent resolution authorizing the President's State of the Union address in the House chamber until government has opened. Again, I look forward to welcoming you to the House on a mutually agreeable date for this address when government has been opened. She's making it clear you ain't speaking on Tuesday.
Well, I think she made it clear in the letter that she sent him last week requesting that he reconsider her invitation to come since the government was closed and since having all of the senators, all of the Congress people, the U.S. Supreme Court, the diplomatic corps, the cabinet, all of these officials brought together into one room, and with much of our government shut down, it presents security issues, and perhaps, Mr. President, you should reconsider having this. She sent that message to him. Any bright person would understand that, hey, you're no longer invited. But he took it, as a bully would do, to the next level and insisted that I'm going to come into your home, whether or not you want me there or not, I'm coming. And so she had to then respond with a more direct communication to the president, send him a message that you are not welcome in the House next week for the State of the Union. So now it's the president's move. Perhaps Mitch McConnell will let him come over to the Senate and do his press conference over there.
All right, then we'll certainly see what happens. Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
You're quite welcome.
All right, folks. As I said, you have all this back and forth, between Speaker Pelosi, between Donald Trump, and what it's doing is it is also emboldening Democrats to stand behind her. And so when I talked about these particular letters. Going back and forth. Pelosi was asked actually outside. I'm going to try to pull the video up. She was asked outside when it came to what happens if Trump shows up, and she said he can talk outside. Here's what we are dealing with. We're dealing with two leaders who are at an absolute standstill. On one hand, what you have here is you have Nancy Pelosi, who is showing Donald Trump what it means to face a tough woman. And remember all those Democrats. Remember all the Democrats out there who were saying that they weren't quite sure that Nancy Pelosi should be the Speaker of the House. Well, they are learning a valuable lesson. This is what happens when you mess with a woman from Baltimore. Now, she might be white, but she's showing him this is how it rolls when you're from Baltimore. And so what I also find to be interesting here is that Nancy Pelosi is not going to back down, because what she understands is that Democrats taking over the House, it was important for them to be able to win those seats and to be in a leadership position. What you have here is Nancy Pelosi showing Donald Trump what is important, showing him what power looks like. The reality is he is boxed in. Donald Trump is boxed in. He can't go anywhere because without her actually saying it's okay, he can't speak. She is teaching him this is what power looks like. And as he continues to hold out and keep the government closed, his approval numbers are going down. New polling data is out, folks. CBS, his numbers are down. And he's losing support among working class voters, white voters with high school diplomas, which is really his core base. That to me is showing you exactly what is going on with this shutdown. And so I just want to throw it real quick to our panel here. I got to ask Avis Jones-DeWeaver, leadership strategist, who joins us right now. She is here. Also, Robert Patillo, radio host out of Atlanta, of course, Eugene Craig organization. Avis, Trump is being shown what a real woman acts like when he tries to bully her.
Absolutely. In the immortal words of Nene Leakes, she basically said today, I said what I said, okay? And, you know, he is this person that all his life, I imagine, he's been pandered to, he's been spoiled, he's never had to sort of color within the lines, per se. But this is someone who understands power, as you mentioned, and she's going to show him exactly how it's wielded and how it's wielded effectively, and he's going to have to learn that lesson. He's going to learn that lesson today.
And Robert and Eugene, the numbers are clear. The public, they are not blaming Democrats for this shutdown. Trump screwed up, and if you go back, it was a master stroke by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to force him to say on the record, in front of the cameras, I will own this shutdown. He can't wiggle out of his own words.
I agree with you. The one thing I've yet to figure out is why Democrat super PACs aren't running, like just flooding the airwaves with that clip, running it over and over and over again. I mean, public support's already collapsed for him. I saw something today, it's like 7% of the recent polls show that, 7% support the wall still. If it will support opening up the government if it's dependent upon the wall. And so the support's not there anymore. I mean, he has to understand and just take his L in peace. Nancy understands power. Apparently, he does not understand there are 3 separate branches of government. Paul Ryan's not there anymore to just, bow to him.
Yep.
Well, I think what we're going to see from President Trump is that he's playing the long game with Democrats. That what he's already articulated is the fact that he's going to have border security before he reopens the government. And Democrats have already came forward today and said they would give him $5 billion, just not for the border wall, for border security.
Now remember, Democrats, that was always their position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always their point.
Happened.
They tried to do $25 billion for border security in exchange for DACA, And he thought, oh, I can get more.
The thing is this, what he's going to realize tomorrow is that he no longer has control of the situation. You're going to have two votes tomorrow. Mitch is going to put his bill on the floor, then Mitch is going to put the bill that he knows can pass to the floor. I wouldn't be shocked if you get 60 votes on that second bill, and then that bill just goes right over to the House and gets passed. You know, that's the only way he gets to State of the Union next week. That's the only way, you know, the government gets back open. And and the second he sees that, his knees are chopped out and his presidency is almost effectively over.
I think,
Final comment.
I think we've done too much underestimating of Donald Trump. I think
I think he's underestimating Nancy Pelosi.
We met Trump at his level for the last 2 years.
Donald Trump will have this thing at a tractor pull in Tennessee and have 50,000 people there and be the biggest event in the history of politics. We cannot have him. We cannot have
all that will get him.
He can have a tractor pull all he wants.
Doubting him, and he keeps pulling through.
We're not doubting him. We're meeting him at his level.
No.
We're meeting him exactly at his level.
He's losing even though tractor pull people in the polls. I don't even understand.
Yeah, I mean, you got me.
Among Trump's base, Trump is still strong within his base.
It's going
The
down.
issue is that his base is 32% of the American population. You can't win anything with 32% of the American population.
No,
not even president.
Except for President 2016.
No, keep in mind, he's losing white educated voters. He is losing white women. He is losing independents. And the more he keeps playing this game, he's making his job harder. No, but he's been taught a lesson. This is what power looks like. Yes. You were able to play in this sandbox for the last 2 years uninterrupted. Now, guess what? A grown person has shown up. And now you're about to see what happens because recess is over. Folks, let's talk about what happened in Miami. The latest crazy white man losing his mind, pulling a gun on some black teenagers riding bicycles in Miami on MLK Day. The kids were part of an anti-gun violence event called Wheels Up, Guns Down. A woman claimed one of the bicyclists had run over her foot. Take a look at this video shared by the Dream Defenders. Now, there's a warning. The language, just like this show, is unfiltered.
Get in front of my car, you fucking piece of shit. Nigger, stop! Nigger, stop! Nigger, stop!
She's so violent. You just ran over me! You just ran over my foot! You're tired! No, you're not! You're right here! You ran over my foot!
Don't touch me, bro.
You just touched me, you bunch of thugs! Fuck you, bitch!
Fucking white ass.
Whoa! Who did? That guy in the red? Yeah, right behind this guy. You ran over my foot!
Piece of shit! You fucking losers!
You ran over my foot!
Fucking stupid niggas!
You guys, keep moving!
Fucking dumbass fucking niggas!
And this guy right
Y'all gonna be on the news. Y'all gonna make the news.
That's fine.
All right.
Hey, fucking idiots! Listen, you stupid niggers! Put that gun to my head, stupid bitch!
Well, guess what? That gunman, Mark Bartlett, has been charged with carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Bartlett was booked into the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center. In a telephone conversation with Miami Channel 10 news reporter Madeline Bright, Bartlett said this, quote, "The reason why we use that word, the reason why Chinese people use the word, why Japanese people, European people, the reason why everybody uses that word is because black people use that word."
Oh, Jesus.
Really, dude? We all knew the word for Puerto Ricans is spick. We all knew Asian people as gooks or whatever. Jews, we knew about Jews. Y'all noticed he wouldn't.
No,
He said, well, I can't go that far.
Yeah, he wouldn't use that word. He goes, nobody uses those words anymore. Why? Because Puerto Ricans don't say that to each other. Because Asian people don't say that to each other. Because the Jewish people don't say that to each other. The only ones that continue to say it are black people. So what's the first thing in my head or most people's heads? Unfortunately, it's the N word. Really, dude? Really? That's it. Joining us now is Dwight C. Wells, founder of Bikes Up, Guns Down. He was there when all of this happened. Glad to have you on the show. Dwight, how you doing?
I'm doing fairly well. Thanks for asking.
So we see the video. So this woman claims somebody ran over her foot. So what was the actual event? Like, so what were folks out there on their bikes for? Was it a parade? What was the event?
Well, we were having a Martin Luther King parade in Miami-Dade County, and it's a housing situation that's going on in Miami-Dade County due to unfair housing. And the kids, along with their parents and volunteers, were out protesting against the affordable housing living due to the gentrification and them tearing down the urban communities in Miami-Dade County. What took place was kids were protesting because the AMI for Liberty City, which is a historical landmark that was one of the second built public houses in the United States of America, in the southern atmosphere of the United States. So to see that the AMI now is at $24,400, and the AMI that the private sectors is coming into Miami with is $48,000 to $52,000, and those people don't meet the AMIs of that corridor of Liberty City. And what happened was Miami-Dade County took and leased the public land for $307 million for 75 years.
So Dwight, Dwight, so yesterday folks were expressing their opposition to that, and what I'm saying is, was this in a park? Was it on a? So where was the event taking place?
Well, we was in Brooklyn. We was in downtown Brooklyn, Miami, and the kids were protesting. And the guy by the name of Mark got out of his vehicle. First is
Well, hold on, Dwight. 1 second. So the woman, okay, for her, was she just walking downtown? Where did she come from?
She was in a Range Rover truck. She was in a Range Rover truck with Mark. They're in a relationship. They don't have the same last name, so I'm reckoning that they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
So 1 second. So the woman, I'm trying to understand. The woman was in a vehicle, and she got out of the vehicle to accost the young men, and then that's when she claims they ran over her foot with a bike.
She got out of her car and she was saying she had to get her kids from school. Kid was like, "We're protesting." I even stated to her, "We're protesting about our unfair housing." And she went to the vehicle, and we proceeded from one part of Brooklyn to the bridge. And as we got to the bridge, she was wondering why traffic being holed up. And out of 100 cars that parked on her Brooklyn Causeway, she was the only woman that jumped out of the car. And her significant other came minutes later and produced a gun on not just African-American kids, but Hispanic kids as well. Bites Up, Guns Down symbolize a community of kids and young adults from all different parts of the culture.
First of all, just for folks who know, so one of the things, a lot of people out here have been saying that television outlets, they should be interviewing these kids like the white kids in Covington, all the drama over the weekend. Just so everybody knows, we reached out to family attorney Lee Merritt to have some of them on the show. This is what our booker said. Their parents don't want them to be on television, and Lee Merritt says no. And so that's why we booked Dwight. So everybody out there who keeps saying, why isn't media putting these kids on television? We tried to get them on the show, but their parents have said they don't want those kids to be on television. And the family attorney, Lee Merritt, he also said that they will not be making appearances. So that's why we have Dwight. Last thing, Dwight, do you have any plans to change future protests? Because clearly, somebody could have been hurt if this guy decides to fire a gun.
Yeah, we're planning that now to get the proper officials out. But what's going on in Miami is an academic moment. Is really at an historical low number when it come up to jobs. Out through the inner cities. And when you got to make a move, you got to make a move and let these people know we're for real. And we also got a news press conference lined up for tomorrow in downtown Brooklyn. So we're going to not let off the gas when it come up to getting these kids the justice. Bites Up, Guns Down, boys and girls. I just want to leave y'all with this. It's the youth organization that go against crime prevention and intervention. We believe in installing education and mental tools to these kids. Now we will be adding on to install against racism, because these kids witnessed something that they never witnessed before. You know what I mean? They heard about it, but they seen it hands-on Martin Luther King Parade Day.
All right. Dwight Wells, man, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Okay, bro. Thanks for having me on. And we'll be sure to keep you all in our prayers. And you guys be sure to do the same as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks so very much. Folks, look up at our panel real quick here. I keep telling people, I keep saying, somebody white, they going to end up dead, acting a fool, running up on black folks like this, even though he had his weapon. He gonna run up against the folks. They're gonna have 4 or 5 of their own guns.
Yeah. Let's understand the power of white privilege in this moment. That you are charged with possession of a concealed weapon without a permit and not aggravated assault, not assault for deadly weapon. Like if any of us walk out of this room right now and take a group of white teenagers and pull our gun out, we're going to be charged with multiple felonies. Not a misdemeanor licensing issue. When you pull your gun out, just because you're in a concealed carry state doesn't mean you just get to pull it out whenever you feel like it. That is a felony that he committed, and the power of white privilege is the fact that he's only charged with misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, he's lucky he didn't get his gun beaten and taken from him.
I'm telling you,
I've seen that happen time and time again. But the thing is, I agree with Roland. There's going to come a time where somebody's going to pull a gun and they're going to have 545 pointed back at them and probably end up losing their life.
But what happens with a lot of these bullies is they tend to target children.
Yes.
That's what he did here. Or they target women. And they are afraid to do that with someone who is clearly their size and can defend themselves.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks, let's talk about what happened in New York, where James Harris Jackson, seen here with the man he killed, Timothy Kaufman. Jackson has pleaded guilty to a hate crime in the murder of Timothy Kaufman. Now, in his confession, Jackson said he spent 2 days stalking black men in New York City until he killed Kaufman 2 years ago. An attack he described as practice for a larger racial terror attack he planned to carry out in Times Square. He pleaded guilty to state charges of murder as terrorism. Also, these 3 individuals were arrested after they were found to be plotting an attack on an Islamic enclave in upstate New York. They had 23 rifles and shotguns, all obtained legally. Police also found 3 explosive devices packed with nails. The attack was planned against Islamisburg, a community founded in the 1980s by mostly African-American Muslims looking for a place to raise their children and practice Islam safety. Folks, these are white domestic terrorists. You have the Trump administration that pulled money from tracking these white domestic terrorists because they wanted to focus on Muslims. If you flip those 2 stories, if you had somebody who was black or somebody who was Muslim who took a sword and killed somebody white like the first guy did, and then if you had 3 black folks who had guns, explosive devices, saying they were going to blow up a white church, first of all, it's going to be wall-to-wall coverage on cable television. Donald Trump will be tweeting like crazy, and every Muslim in America will have to be trying to apologize for these 3 individuals.
Absolutely. I think, I think every cable news outlet needs to be pressing out the NRA on this. No, you got 3 white guys with 23 rifles that are ready to...
3 white domestic terrorists.
White domestic terrorists. The #1 terrorist demo in the country.
Right.
It's not Muslims, it's not black folk, it's not, foreigners, it's not people who come from shithole country. It's people that are raised right here in this country that have access to weapons with intent to harm and kill. And our government is doing nothing about that.
Avis, what bugs me, again, what I keep trying to go to and trying to explain to people here is that folks in this country want to ignore white men who are committing terrorist acts.
Absolutely.
And there are numerous stories that took place in Kansas and other places where folks have been found guilty and sentenced to prison because of these type of terrorist acts.
Absolutely. And when have we not had a long history of domestic terrorism primarily committed by white men in this country? But you're exactly right. It's not characterized as that. It's not specifically linked to the broader community. If anything were to happen with African Americans, with Muslims, all of a sudden every brown person or every black person in America is under threat. And we have to stop that. Once again, it's an exact example of white privilege in action.
Robert?
I think what this is a capstone, too, is the fact that more African Americans have to become legal gun owners to protect themselves. I'm a member of the National African American Gun Association, NAGA. I think all African Americans should have a gun in your home, know how to use it, train your children in it, because you never know when these terrorists are going to show up. And if you're counting on Homeland Security or the police department to show up to protect you, they're not. So you have to be prepared to protect your home, protect your family, protect your property against these terrorist organizations that are out there hunting us. As the one person said, he hunted this man for several days before kidnapping and killing him. So let's make sure that we are able to defend ourselves and stop demonizing guns and start demonizing the criminal to use them.
We still need gun control, though. I mean, you can go get a gun all you want to, but there's too many damn folks walking around this country with guns, shooting folks left and right, and I still trying to understand why in the hell you need a machine gun to go hunting. If you can't shoot, damn it, just put the gun down. Just put it down.
Cheney school of shooting.
Yeah, right. And he shot his friend too. Right. That's right. Okay, I'm all good. I'm gonna stay on the golf course. I'm gonna shoot for birdies. And I ain't talking about the actual birds. All right, y'all going to a break right now. We come back. We're gonna talk to Congresswoman Eddie Johnson about STEM and African Americans. She's leading a critical committee on the Science and Technology Committee in the House, and so we'll discuss that. Her coming back next. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
Hey everybody, this is Sherry Shepherd. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, and while he's doing Unfiltered, I'm practicing the wobble. Yes, I am. Because Roland Martin's the one, he will do it backwards, he will do it on the side. He messes everybody up when he gets into the wobble, because he doesn't know how to do it, so he does it backwards. And it just messes me up every single time. So I'm working on it. I got it. You got Roland Martin.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mac Wiles, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, let's talk about one of our partners, D Herbs Cleanse. In 2019, many folks, of course, are focused on their health, trying to get better, trying to look better, getting ready for the beach season. Other folks, of course, improving their golf game, all that sort of good stuff. And so they want to be able to have a healthier new year. So one of the ways to do that is the D Herbs Cleanse. It's something that I actually have been on. I started a couple weeks ago, so I have now 4 more days, and so it can certainly make a difference when it comes to losing weight, also giving folks more energy as well, improving their overall being. And so if you want to do that, this is what you can do. You can join those of us who are on it by going to dherbs.com and then use the promo code ROLAND. A lot of folks, of course, are trying to still get rid of that excess eating and that they did over the holidays, processed foods, fried foods, you named it, all the fun stuff we had. And some of y'all probably had some, except where it was freezing on MOKD, some of y'all had some barbecues going as well. And so if you want to do that, again, and your body, or you want your body to recover, use the full body cleanse. It certainly can help you get rid of the toxic buildup in your body that certainly drags you down. So again, go to dherbs.com and you use the promo code ROLAND. And so you can also call them as well by call 866-4DHERBS. That's 866-4DHERBS. And again, you use the promo code ROLAND. And so I'll let you on Monday know how much weight I've lost and also what I'm doing after the 20-day cleanse. There are 27 different cleanses that you can actually go through. And so you certainly want to check it out. Again, dherbs.com. All right, folks, let's talk about the issue of science and technology. All we've heard in the last several years, the importance of STEM education. When you look at where we are going in society with technology and the jobs of the future, it is all about STEM, STEM, STEM. But you also need to have policymakers who are putting folks in position to be able to access those jobs. And so Congresswoman Eddie Johnson of Dallas, she is the chair of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. And she joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Congresswoman, how you doing?
Okay.
Glad to see you. And also, I still have, of course, my home in Dallas, right. Where I'm one of your constituents.
I know. I'm always mindful of that.
And, of course, my parents who are very active with the polls and everything there. And so they living in my house down there, so they are certainly staying busy in your district.
And you look just like both of them.
well, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. And so, first of all, 5 African Americans chairing committees. So folks who who don't really understand the political process. Explain to them, what that means, having 5 CBC members who are chairing House committees.
That's really extraordinary because when you chair a committee, you set the agenda. Of course, every committee has working documents of what they're responsible for and what agencies of which you have oversight. But you have the freedom to set the agenda to address the issues within the jurisdictions at all times. That's one of the disadvantages we've had for the last 8 years. We couldn't set an agenda. We couldn't bring up subjects to put on the agenda to discuss. A good example of that is climate change in my committee, because we had nothing to do with setting the agenda. We now have not only that responsibility to set the agenda, we've got to rise to the occasion of making sure that it's carried out. We have to make sure that they are good witnesses from wherever you can get them in the world, depending on your subject matter. In my subject matter, it is international. We deal with the National Science Foundation, which is all of the basic research, which can be at research labs or universities. And Texas A&M is one of the universities that gets some of the research money. And so we have all that oversight. We have the oversight of the environment through NOAA, the predictions, NASA, all of the technology, Department of Energy. It's our responsibility not only to do the legislation that goes through those agencies, but also the oversight.
When you talk about climate change, I mean, obviously that's a huge issue. The White House released a report in November, the Friday after Thanksgiving, talking about what really the changes need to happen. And then you had Donald Trump who goes, I don't believe it, even though it was a report that was released by his own White House. And so how do you deal with a party that continues to deny what's happening with climate change? Because for them, it's all about, if the way to stop anything in America is say, it's going to hurt jobs, it's going to hurt the economy. And then you have the EPA, where you had Scott Pruitt, who left, just whacking everything the Obama administration put in place when it came to trying to protect the environment.
Right. Well, we hope to reverse most of that. And we are not extremely optimistic that this president might sign all of it. But we have a responsibility to be responsible and to deal with the issues and the scientific findings as we know that they're available. The last 6 years, we spent most of our time in denial and really going back and trying to even undo some of the research that's been decided for 25 years. But that is not the real history of my tenure on the committee. I've been on the committee 26 straight years, and it was only the last 6 that we went to that extreme. They changed chairs every 6 years. I've been ranking member 8 years, going into, this will be my 10th year when I finish this 2 years. But the charter of the committee has never changed. It really depends on the leadership and where it takes you.
How do you plan to use this to drive a lot of those dollars to HBCUs when it comes to technology? Because with the initiative of Reverend Jackson several years ago, trying to publicly shame Silicon Valley, all of a sudden they realized that there were black students who were going to HBCUs who were in science, technology, engineering, and math. So now all of a sudden, some of them have created partnerships with those HBCUs. How do you plan to leverage your power, this chair, to get them to do more of this?
Well, historically, every time there was a bill, I made sure there was a portion, some kind of amendment that put them into the network of that money. I also have challenged the National Science Foundation, who has great peer review, but most of those peers that come to do the review are not from historically black colleges. I've also had neighborhood and statewide meetings with black college presidents to talk about how they view their submissions. I think we're seeing a little bit more. I've been out and visited a lot of the black colleges, but we still need to work on it because the peer review we had to review most of the peer reviews are PhDs from sometimes more than one PhD from different universities that do not involve historically black colleges. But what is so critical is that we need the products from the historically black colleges. You know, we used to worry about affirmative action if we walked in a room and didn't see anybody that looked like us. Now it's not whether we see them or not, it's whether or not we have their brain power. In this country, where the minority populations are doing most of the growth, we need that brain power to remain anywhere in a competitive world. Science has become so competitive worldwide, and most of the large countries are investing more now into scientific research than what we're doing in this country. Under the Republican administrations, it's been very difficult. This is only the second one I've been under. I started out with Clinton, and we did well. Then we went with Mr. Bush, and it bankrupted the nation, and we couldn't continue to invest as much. Then we had President Obama, who came in, took a nation that was in bankruptcy and turned it around, and his economy is still showing up. But just as soon as the current president's economy shows up, we're going to see a big difference. But in the meantime, we've got to be ready for the competitive world, not just this country. And so we're looking at automation, autonomous vehicles. We've got to be able to compete with all of that. It does not require a PhD.
Got it.
A lot of that requires just community college level, because we're looking at technology. And we're going to move from driving trucks from behind the wheel to driving trucks behind computers.
I got to ask you this real quick, the last question, because it's my next story. And so, actually, a little later in the story, you are a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And so I got to get your thoughts. We'll talk about a little bit in a moment, which is your thoughts about your sorority sister, Senator Kamala Harris, running for president.
I want to run. I'm for her. I told her when she called
So
me.
you ain't waiting for anybody else to announce. You made it clear you endorse Senator Kamala Harris.
Here's what I said to her. She is the best female candidate out there. I might have a little bit more commitment to someone who is not yet announced from long-time relationships.
Is that Vice President Joe Biden?
Yes. But now I would love to see a combination there. But Kamala Harris is ready. And I wouldn't have any problem supporting her.
Okay, and I see you.
She is a sorority sister, too.
Yeah, I know. But I see you with that red on here, so you're trying to make sure you keep Delta votes, too?
That's right.
All right.
My daughter-in-law is a Delta, so that means that my 3 grandsons got a Delta mother. But they got an AKA grandmother.
Okay. All right, there. Well, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Jay-Z, Meek Mill, and also New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and other sports owners have formed a new organization to fight criminal justice reform. It is called the Reform Alliance. Van Jones, the former White House aide to President Obama, who's also been very much involved in criminal justice, he is the new CEO. And they also have $50 million to start. The organizers say they're going to focus on probation and parole with the aim of getting at least 1 million people out of jail over the next 5 years.
I went to state prison in 1991. I gained my GED while I was there. I did pretty well on parole. I got off parole, except for the one time that I ran through a technical violation. When that happened, it took everything from me. And it was just one day you go to your parole officer, and he's waiting for you. He's waiting for you with handcuffs, and there's nothing you can do about it. I made an illegal U-turn. It's a traffic ticket. You don't even take points for that. And I did 90 days for it. So imagine.
I said, wait a minute, I'm on my way now. The only reason why I missed an appointment with her is because the job I just started, they had me on a 90-day probational period. I can't miss any days. I need this job, and now you're telling me that you're locking me up because I missed an appointment to come see you?
While on parole, I was never told that I would be violated if I left rehabilitation.
I was in the hospital for 2 days. They had to identify me. That's when I found out, I had a warrant on me. So I had to sit there and sit it out for 11 and a half months.
About 20 seconds for me entering there, I just got into the store. A whole bunch of police raided, apparently looking for drugs. The officers finally admitted to them that I had nothing, they didn't find nothing in my persons, but then they didn't take that into account. If you really want to go to how you're playing with people's livelihoods, you really need to do a thorough investigation, you know, but that's what happens. It's life, right? C'est la vie.
It's stopping them from working. It's breaking their families up. It's not actually helping them to rehabilitate themselves.
He had got a really good job because he had picked up a trade while he was incarcerated the last time. They wouldn't make him do the job because where the job was. It was in New Rochelle. He couldn't go out the 5 boroughs. It's like we can't win for losing.
When you talk about these so-called technical violations, it's not technical to the kid who can never see her mom again because she showed up late for a meeting. That's not technical. That's devastating for that individual child.
It was traumatizing for us because you don't know if mom's gonna be here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
You couldn't have told me checking your mail or checking your apartment that they know about, they could violate you and send you back to prison for that. So he added on another year of supervised release and sent me back to jail for 3 months. I even tried to commit suicide. How am I supposed to take care of my son? How am I supposed to support us? Like, if nobody's giving me a chance.
I feel scared for myself and I feel scared for my mom.
It's a journey that you don't see the light. You lose hope and everything becomes about going to see somebody in jail.
Everyone knows someone in this country, whether it's a family member, a close friend, or now even me, who has experienced incarceration, post-incarceration, or even pretrial detention.
I don't want you to judge me off the way I look or the way I may talk or the way I carry myself. I want you to judge me off of my actions.
I looked at all the things in my life that I had lost. People who were very important to me. One was my mother. And thank God. Excuse me.
Reform means to take something that is broken and to fix it, make it better, not to continue to crack it. Like, even though, you know, when you break a plate, it's not ever gonna go back together again, but you can at least try. Parole don't even try to fix it. It just wants to keep cracking it and cracking it, breaking it.
You know, he started out this way, he took his rocky turn, but he's back on smooth ground again. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, folks, criminal justice reform is going to be one of the huge issues. That's the platform for Senator Kamala Harris of California. And she, of course, is going to need all the help she can. It's going to be a large field of Democrats running for president in 2020. And she is going to be leaning on her sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Of course, she announced on Monday on Good Morning America on MLK Day, then held her first news conference at Howard University. And this was an issue that was raised today, an article that was published by Politico. And Nolan McCaskill, graduate of FAMU, also a member of NABJ. He joins us right now. Nolan, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
All right, then. So I sent you a tweet earlier because in the article you said the Delta's membership is about the same as the AKA's. I said, oh, you're going to get lit up. I know you heard from some Deltas today.
That's what the Delta website said. That's what I went off of.
But did you hear from some Deltas today?
I heard from some Zetas. I don't know if I heard from any Deltas.
So what does Zetas hit you for?
I can't really tell you what the sources are like.
I ain't telling you the name of the source. I'm just saying what they hit you up for. Or they mad you mentioned those two?
Said I mentioned AKA a little too much in the story, but that's...
But she's AKA! What's wrong with them? Tell a Zeta to run for president. I'm just saying.
For real? You got a point there. I mean, this is just a friend I went to college with. Shared my article on Facebook. She was responding to it. We texted a bit about it, and I was just the end of that.
Look, the point of the article that you made is that, I mean, look, and I've always talked about this, when you talk about infrastructure, when you talk about organizations, the reality is same thing when Loretta Lynch was nominated for Attorney General. She's a Delta, and Delta Sigma Theta was out strong on Capitol Hill in the red, pressing senators and others to confirm her nomination. And so this is, you know, when we talk about when you run, you lean on institutions that you're members of to see you through.
Right, and she's got that. I mean, she's the only candidate in the field, or at least the only major candidate who has attended an HBCU. She's got the Howard connection. You saw her there on Monday after she launched her campaign. I mean, her roots are at Howard. That's where she pledged AKA. We're going to see her Friday in South Carolina, where those roots will really be shown when she's at the Pink Ice Gala. She's going to be speaking there. And that's an event people are really excited about. They're excited that she's there. They're excited that President Barack Obama went there in 2008.
Although he didn't want to go there.
Yeah,
he didn't want. What actually happened there was Obama in 2008. Obama was tired. He's like, "Look, no, we can cancel this." And Valerie Jarrett said, "No, you're going to this event." And now, of course, Obama he didn't pledge one of the Divine Nine, and I don't think he quite understood why he needed to go to that event. Some 3,000 AKAs attend this annual event in South Carolina. It's a major deal. And if you run for president, you want to go to a place where it's a whole bunch of black women, considering black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party, even in South Carolina.
Right, and this will be her first stop in South Carolina. I mean, you've seen Cory Booker, you've seen stories, Bernie Sanders, excuse me. They've gone to South Carolina for MLK Day. This will be her first stop here. She's not necessarily campaigning, although she did launch her campaign this week. But, I mean, this is a big event for her. People are excited about it. She's going to be around her sisters, her sorors. Yeah, I think she's got a network. She's got a very unique network that no other candidate has. I mean, I reported in the story that Senator Cory Booker has kind of leaned on the fact that his mom is a Delta to try to connect when he's around Deltas. But, I mean, he didn't pledge Divine Nine, and that's an advantage that Kamala Harris has over him.
Avis, want to go to you. You're an AKA.
Yes.
And what people have to understand is, again, when you run for office, it's about groups and institutions. So, for instance, Justin Fairfax, when he decided that he was going to run for lieutenant governor, he's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. He's also a member of Sigma Pi Phi, also the Belay. And he went to those institutions, talking to them. They played a role when it came to giving to his campaign. Randall Woodfin, the mayor of Birmingham, when he ran, he leaned on Alpha and being a graduate of Morehouse.
Right.
And there were a number of people from Morehouse who gave to his campaign as well. Stacey Abrams, when she ran in Georgia, she was getting dollars from her college graduates. Andrew Gillum, Florida A&M. And so Kamala Harris, what she has is, as she's putting together a nationwide campaign, she's going to also have the advantage of having sorority sisters who will be campaigning for her and volunteering for her, who already have organizational infrastructure set up around America.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense to make use of these organizations that are already hardwired throughout the nation. They are in colleges and universities. You have graduate chapters. You have people who are excited about seeing the first Alpha Kappa Alpha woman running for president in the United States, and by far, I have to agree with the Congresswoman, the best woman who's running at the moment, and I would argue she's leading the candidate. She's the one that's bringing the energy into this race. Honestly, there's no one that's announced yet that I think has had more energy behind them than she has, and so by leaning on both her Alpha Kappa Alpha pledging AKA, as well as all the Divine Nine being proud of her and leaning on that HBCU credentials, that links her into thousands upon thousands upon thousands of black people across this country that are going to automatically want to support her and see her run and see her win.
Eugene and Robert, this is the thing that is going to be interesting. Again, she goes to this event on Friday. One, it's not guaranteed that all AKs will be supporting her. But the reality is, when someone runs, if you went to the same college with them, if you live in the same town as them, same neighborhood, same organization, there's a natural affinity. And then for her, with South Carolina being a crucial early state, having a major group get behind you, even though they're 501c3, members can still do whatever they want to. That's infrastructure. That's fundraising. That's ground game. That's door knocking. I mean, it's all of that.
So a couple things. First and foremost, I think this time next year, we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, the front runner. Looking at the primary schedule, You know, I don't think Iowa, and I think no Democrat candidate should get out of the race before South Carolina, to be honest. I don't think Iowa and New Hampshire, you know, having 90% plus white populations should be determining who the Democrat nominee is. But looking at the primary calendar with California being moved up and having early voting going on while the Iowa caucus is going on, she very well can come out of this with a bulk of delegates from California, which is a huge bulk, a huge chunk, a bulk of delegates out of South Carolina, and being the front runner going into Super Tuesday. But I'll also point out that AKAs recently have launched Ivy PAC and have officially endorsed her. And so, you know, I agree. I do agree with Avis. And I agree with Nolan that she is the best candidate out there. And I think, you know, I think a Biden-Harris or a Harris-Biden ticket could smoke.
Oh my God,
Robert, the thing that and it's one of the things that I've done for years, and many of the speeches that I've given, is that I have said to the Divine Nine that they have not fully utilized the infrastructure. And for folks who don't understand, let me walk you through when we say infrastructure. You're talking about organizations that are international organizations. And then you have the national piece. Then you have regional. Then you have state. Then you have grad chapters. Then you have undergrad chapters. Then, of course, you have all of them also working with folks all the way down through K. So you're talking about institutions that are working with black folks from K all the way through them being adults. And so when you're talking about running for president or running for office, having access to that type of infrastructure is a huge advantage, especially early on when you're talking about trying to build out your campaign.
Well, you know, going back to Eugene's point, if you look at the demographics of South Carolina, I think is what, 35% African American. The Democratic primary is about 60% African American in that state. So it's going to be dispositive for any black candidate. If you can't carry South Carolina, it's going to show real weakness for you going into Super Tuesday, particularly when we have new states in play. Georgia is now in play in the general election, not just in the primary, in the general election, with Stacey Abrams losing by less than 2%. Florida's in play with Gillum losing by less than 5%. Texas in play.
That's about 30,000 votes.
Yeah. So Texas after O'Rourke. Wisconsin is going to be in play. So she has to show strength in South Carolina to carry her into Super Tuesday, into those states. Genetically and on paper, most black folks are going to support her. I'm, as a Clark Atlanta University graduate, first thing when they said a woman from Howard was running, you immediately want to say, I will support her. But she has to step over that issue she has from being district attorney and being state's attorney in California. She has to explain that, use that as a strength, and have a strong criminal justice reform platform going forward. The same thing we saw in the piece beforehand. She has to address that. She can't leave that lingering out there, because that's a huge red flag from any voter.
Nolan, what response did you get from non-black folks? You, like your editors, they say, what the hell is AKA?
Well, when I first pitched the story, I wasn't sure if my editors would go for it, but they actually loved the piece right before it even was written. I mean, they just loved the concept that...
Now, did it help when you had the white woman from the other Washington Post when she didn't know what ski week was and she got lit up on social media?
Well, probably made the Post wish they had reached out and hired an HBCU alum. I mean, yeah.
So they saw it, and again, I think for white editors who have no clue about black folks, they probably are going, whoa. And I'm telling you, if I'm Politico, first of all, are they sending you to South Carolina?
Just came back for MLK.
No, are they sending you Friday?
I wish they were. I don't think I am, though.
No, okay.
got money.
I'm telling you, what you should do, you should go back to your bosses, yo, send a camera with me. They will be blown away. I'm telling you, you should do. You say, guys, I'm telling y'all, you need to see what the reaction is going to be like, and we should be in the room when it happens. And so I would tell them to do that.
Mr. Black, the thing is,
they got money.
Go ahead, they can do it.
The fact is, Kamala Harris is the blackest candidate that's run for president in a very long time.
Well, first of all, she's the only black person who jumped in right now.
I agree.
I mean, but of course, right now she's the blackest.
But with the HBC history, you know, paying homage to Shirley Chisholm. I mean, it doesn't get any. It doesn't
announcing
get any.
On MLK Day.
Announcing on MLK Day. It doesn't get any more blacker than this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for people that are distracted and throwing shots already, they should be ashamed of.
But here's the piece, though, and I said it yesterday, and I say it again. I want to get your thoughts on this. Again, I think after Obama ran in 2008, then of course re-election in 2012, I think if you are an African American who's running for president, you are going to have to present a clear and identifiable black agenda. They're not going to be able to skate around that. It's not going to be, well, sort of general, whatever. Black people are going to be saying, no. Y'all going to present an agenda for black people. We want to hear what that is, because she is going to present one for LGBT. She is going to present one for Latino voters. And black people are not going, I'm telling you, and tell me your thoughts on this. They're like, after Obama, no, you're going to have to present a black agenda along with everybody else's agenda. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. The ties are a boost for her, but she still has to campaign to win. So she has to talk to black voters. She has to speak about the issues that are important to them. She has to tell them what she can do for them as president, as well as speak to a broader community, because, I mean, South Carolina Democrats, they realize that whoever wins the South Carolina primary is in a great position to become the Democratic nominee. And assuming that that Democratic nominee wins, that person will be the president of everybody. And so in South Carolina, Democrats on the ground are really stressing that, yes, you need to target people who look like you, but you also need to reach out to everyone in the state, because you're going to need those votes come.
Here's why, Robert, whoever's saying that, they wrong as hell. Because here's the deal. If they're going to be anywhere from 10 to 12 or 14 candidates, you don't need 51%.
That's right.
All you need, if you pull 30%, you look back, look, the reason Trump was able to get the nomination, he wasn't destroying the states. He was winning with 30s, 32, 34%, and that's going to be the key. And if you're able to build that sort of locked-in base and hit that number, you win.
I think a huge misstep this week was when they asked her the African-American question. She said, I'm a proud American, instead of saying I'm a proud African-American, proud black American woman. These are the people that I represent. Trump didn't win by saying I'm the president of all people. He said, I'm the president of y'all folks who support me. I think black
tractor trailer people.
Black folks want someone that enthusiastic.
Davis.
I mean, I think that's an excellent point. And I also agree that she does need to talk about her background as Attorney General. People are already firing shots at her around this. She clearly has the ability to sit out there and really make a strong argument about why she's the right person for the job, but she cannot ignore that issue and expect it to just go away, because she needs to answer those questions to be able to solidify this black vote, and that's exactly what she's going to need to carry her through South Carolina and beyond.
Final comment, Eugene.
President Kamala Harris, January 2021, this morning.
So let me, so first of all, Nolan, thanks a bunch for being on the show. Love to have you back. Thank you. All right, then. And so let me go ahead and say this. You know, I do follow during the show. This is a digital show. And so we're on Facebook, we're on Periscope, we're on YouTube. And so I do comment. I'm seeing what people have to say and things along those lines. And I wasn't going to do this, but let me just go ahead and do this. So that was some fool on here. I think his name is Robert, somebody named Gutierrez or something along those lines. I'm sorry, here it is, Ruben Gutierrez. And so Ruben Gutierrez had the audacity, the unmitigated gall, to make a statement on our YouTube channel saying that, he really doesn't trust fraternities that were not founded at HBCUs. Here it is. He says, A Phi, AK, Psi, and Sigma Gamma Rho were founded at white schools, so I don't really consider those frats and sorority black because they were founded at HBCUs. Ruben, do you know how stupid you sound making that particular comment? Because Alpha Phi Alpha founded Cornell University December 4th, 1906. You do realize that Alpha was founded at Howard University before anybody else was founded at Howard University. So the reality is Alpha was on an HBCU campus before Omegas, before Iota, before Deltas, before AKAs, before Zetas, before anybody else. And so when you make also stupid comments like that by saying you don't trust something that wasn't founded at an HBCU, it's it's kind of idiotic, because what you're actually saying is that you don't trust the black people who didn't even pledge at HBCUs, which means that you don't trust Dr. King, who pledged in Boston. He didn't pledge at Morehouse. What it means is you don't trust the other individuals who served in Congress and who's also been civil rights leaders, who've been in business. So take, for instance, does it tell me you don't trust Robert Smith, the richest black man in America, who's worth $4 billion, who gave millions to build the Smithsonian, who's given millions to the NAACP, millions to the United Negro College Fund, who just gave $1.5 million to Morehouse? Oh, I'm sorry. He's a black man who pledged at Cornell. Yeah. And so when black folks, and Ruben, I don't know who you are, so therefore I'm assuming you black, or maybe you also are confused. What is interesting to me is when black folks love to somehow say, well, I don't like you or trust you because you didn't go to a HBCU. Yet, why then did we actually say, open the doors to the University of Alabama and the University of Mississippi? Why did Charlene Hunter fight to get into the University of Georgia when they were being denied? See, folks like you really get on my last black damn nerve because, see, what I want are for black students to go to any school of their choosing. If they go to HBCU, great. If they go to a PWI, great. If they go to a community college, great. If they go to a technical school, great. What I want for us is to actually get an education. But when we have black folks who are so super duper uber black that they begin to make these rather ignorant statements, what they're really saying is, I'm just going to leave out all these other black folks who have done amazing things in our society for the benefit of black folks. Now, just think about that since you made that comment. So when Robert Smith gives Morehouse $1.5 million, Robert Smith, who didn't go to Morehouse, has actually given more than a whole lot of Morehouse graduates. Ain't that interesting? And so we better be real damn careful when we start trying to criticize black folks who didn't go to this HBCU or who pledged this somewhere else without realizing the things that they do, the infrastructure involved. Just like if you read Rashawn Biddle's Twitter feed, he goes by Dropout Nation. He talked about the involvement of what AKs and Deltas have been doing all across the country. See, now, as somebody in the Divine Nine, I've been very critical in terms of challenging Divine Nine to do more when it comes to our community. But if you actually removed black fraternities and sororities and what they do on an annual basis for black folks, you literally are removing millions of dollars in scholarships and aid that are going to black people when it comes to education. You remove what they are doing to helping black folks get jobs as well. And so if we want to be about the future of black people and helping black people, well, I suggest we learn to support all the institutions that are in our community who are trying to do their best to improve the plight of black people. So whether or not Alpha was founded at Cornell and then the second chapter, Beta chapter, was at Howard University, whether or not Omega or somebody else was founded on an HBCU campus, I dare say that if you are standing up for black people and fighting for black people, and then you are raising the fist for black people, then I'm going to celebrate you and say, keep doing your job. And for the rest of y'all who are haters, you know what y'all can do? Kiss my black ass.
Oh. Okay.
That's why it's called Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, folks, be sure to support us by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, joining our Bring the Funk fan club. We certainly appreciate all that you do, the dollars that you have going to the show. It would be great for you to join the fan club today. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our followers to give an average of $50 for the whole year. That's about $4 a month, 13 cents a day to make this show possible. Again, we're covering stuff other folks are not covering. We're talking to members of Congress other people are not talking to. And so we want you to support what we do. Now, coming up next, we're going to end this live stream. Remember yesterday I talked about Reverend Dr. William Barber when he jammed up the governor of Tennessee yesterday on Monday to his face. Well, we actually have the full speech. And so we want all of you, once we end this live stream, to watch Reverend Dr. Barber give the MLK Day speech in Nashville, Tennessee. My man went there. You do not want to miss this. And that's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thanks a bunch to all of our panelists, Eugene, Avis, and Robert. Thanks a lot. Nolan, thank you so very much. We thank Congresswoman Ida Denise Johnson and Congressman Hank Johnson as well. Okay, folks, I got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. This is where we keep it black, we keep it real, we keep it unfiltered. And if you say something on one of these message boards during the show, you might become a star of the show. Ruben. Holla! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.